Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. It's, I've stopped giving the date. I used to do that with such religiosity. No, religiously. Religiosity would not be the right word.
No,
it's not right. Why am I hearing bum, bum, bum in my ear?
Oh, it's hacking. Maybe it's Snowden. Are you there, Mr. Snowden?
Oh, you know what it is? It's my earring knocking against my... I kept hearing... Oh, stop it. Okay, all right. Taking them out.
She's taking off her earring.
Taking them out.
Don't lose them.
August 15th.
Did you have talking about Snowden? That I guess now they're trying, I don't know if it's an appeal or something, but for Mr. Manning, because they feel that he was so bereft, if that's the right word, by his sexual...
Manning, yeah, it wasn't just sexual.
Impression.
You know, the more you...
He was beat up, wasn't he? Bullied?
No, he was... This is a sad story. Yeah. Bradley Manning clearly had a rough start in life, and and he has, according to one witness that testified at his sentencing hearing, he has, even in his facial features, the look of fetal alcohol syndrome, of a child whose mother was...
Even at the age of 29 or whatever he is?
Well, yeah, I guess there's certain facial things.
Oh, my God.
He also has... he just has a number of things that stemmed from his horrific childhood, where he was essentially brought up by his older sister, and she was a child. Yeah, both parents, total alcoholics. That's not an excuse, but it's an explanation of sorts of how somebody gets to where he gets.
Sure.
And he had anger issues,
right.
And he was mentally not quite right. It also then begs the question of, doesn't the military do a little bit better job of screening who they accept, and then what they allow somebody who they think might psychologically be a little not to have access to all of this?
Yeah, exactly.
So I even believe that his apology to the court it was probably relatively sincere. I feel sorry for him. I really do. He did do terrible damage. He didn't realize he thought he was doing something good. He also thought he was being powerful. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which makes sense given just what you've described.
And then he was so brutalized in prison by our government. I mean, they treated him.
Yeah,
he was kept stripped. He was kept in solitary. I hope they don't give him, I guess, the 90 years they can give him. I sure as hell hope they don't. I have a feel for this guy. I have less of a feel for Snowden. I think he
certainly seems to have his wits about him.
Yes, he has his wits about him.
And
he's just filled with some kind of grandiosity, and I don't know. Here I am talking like I know the two. But
tell us, Lynn, in your third grade checkers club, who was the better player?
I do know that I think both disclosures It is not up to 20-somethings to overrule. Well, I know that's not necessarily true. No, I stopped. But really.
I mean, because you need sometimes. I'm not saying either one of these, but sometimes whistleblowers are.
Yes, but see, again, I'll argue that that's not. They don't fit quite the definition of a whistleblower. They don't.
Why is that?
Well, because a whistleblower, to me, that's a positive term.
Yes.
I have not reacted positively to either of these two. A whistleblower is somebody who tells me something about illegal activities or something that is going on in my name by my government, or in the case of like Big Tobacco, the guy who risked everything to alert people that Big Tobacco
so in
was
other words,
lying and cheating.
Manning would have been a whistleblower if he just went to the press and say, look what the government is doing, without revealing the specificity of that.
No, I don't think he was in the position to...
Well, no,
I don't know.
But a whistleblower can be the guy who
he didn't. He handed over this just.
I understand that. But what I just said to you, though, was if he somehow got, Dan Rather, well, I guess he's not doing that anymore, but anyway, some major newscaster's ear and appeared on the CBS Nightly News and said, I have had access to this. The government is doing these things without saying, do. I mean, and then Dan Rather and all the rest of the press would force the government to come clean. That would be a whistleblower.
I'm not sure that Manning told us anything illegal that the government was doing. I think what Manning did was he blew the cover on a lot of agents, which could have gotten them killed and may in fact have.
Yeah, no,
he
true.
just helped destroy relations, the delicate kind of relationships that exist between, in diplomacy.
No,
he and he did it in this just wholesale, and he did it through this creep.
Yeah.
Wikipedia. I mean, I'm put off everywhere.
So it's almost like on a nasty schoolboy prank.
It seemed more schoolboyish. Snowden might have thought he was a genuine whistleblower, but I think he too might have harmed. Who was he to decide, oh, this is a little too delicate. I won't let people know this one, but I will let them know this one. That's when I started saying this. How some kid whose skill is knowing how to get around computers does not... I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I know a whistleblower when I see one. I know when I know when somebody...
So whistleblowers, watch out on the bus.
Somebody tells me something that I think, geez, I'm really glad to know that. I don't know that I learned anything. I didn't learn anything from either of these two that I didn't already essentially pretty much know our government was up to. Have you learned it? I mean, come on.
Well, wait. I mean, I can't say, for letter or verse, but I would say, how come all of this has now gotten everyone, Congress, and upset about, our government snooping? I mean, I think it's all interconnected in terms of the...
No.
You don't think so?
No, because I think that... No.
Oh, what?
I don't think so. Whatever. Next time a real whistleblower comes out of the woodwork...
Call Lynn Cullen.
No, I will tell you. That, I think, is a whistleblower.
Which?
No, whenever it happens.
Oh, I see. You can tell them by the smell them.
And whistleblowers often come to no good end either. I mean, they're not. It's never appreciated.
No. They're put in the they can't be fired, but they're put in an office with no telephone and one pencil.
Well, they're often lose their jobs.
And they lose their jobs,
even though they're supposedly.
What was that woman? What was it? Not terribly long ago. What was her thing that she blew the whistle on? That was really serious.
I believe, was in the military, too, and I think you're talking about after 9/11, and you're talking about...
No, this was some corporate thing. What was it?
Don't know.
Enron. I think it was to do with Enron. Or one of those big... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Enron. She was some executive secretary or something.
you say Enron, and I think Enron. I mean, it all.
There have been so many
I-
scandals since then.
Just
Another scandal.
well, it does. It all just
No, it's true.
starts
It's
to.
true. Now it's SAC or SAC
Sort
or
of just
whatever.
congeals in your memory bank into some. Did you hear about that disgusting
Corruption.
Did you hear about that disgusting 15-ton blob of lard that they found in the London sewers?
No, I didn't. How nice. I'm glad I'm not eating, yes. What is this?
Well, it was. They said they'd never seen anything quite like it, but it's just came from, bless you,
Thank you.
all the stuff that flushes into sewers.
But
And I guess,
how did it congeal in that?
well, I think just like human beings tend to congregate with
So lard mingles with its own
lard,
kind.
right?
No, I thought you were going to say some
I
big
think,
restaurant poured its
No.
own fat into it.
No. I think
Oh, God.
no. So, but I feel like I've got in my memory bank a big ball of stuff that is
I think it was The Blob, that movie in
that
the
is
50s.
all this crap that at the time has us so transfixed and outraged and appalled, and then check back with us 5 years later,
Who
and
remembers?
we're
Well,
all
that's just like, wasn't it just this summer that they announced that somewhere in the ocean was this huge
Oh, no,
blob,
no,
which was
that-
all plastic.
No. That's been known for a long
it has? Oh,
time.
okay.
That's a gazillion mile.
Yeah.
Forget what they call that. What do they call that? I mean, I
Was
think.
it that big? I think
Oh no, it's just huge.
And it was those things like from, when you get soda bottles with the plastic bits.
It's again
That
this
how
kind of
congeals.
situation where, all the plastic in the ocean, it might bump into another piece of plastic, and they say, "Did you hear? There's this fantastic
That's a
place,
whistleblower,
right?
yes.
This fantastic place. We should try to float over that away, and maybe we can join it." I don't know
It's
how
like
it all.
Club Med for
Yeah, but
plastic
why
crap.
does it end up in that? It's sort of this
Well, there was
gyre.
something, well, I think it was like a vortex or something.
Well, but it
why just
wasn't
the
because
plastic?
it wasn't
Yeah.
all dumped at the same time.
No, right, exactly.
That like finds like, even in as vast a thing as the Pacific Ocean. Okay, all you smarty pants out there, we have raised a number of questions here.
Is plastic really magnetic?
Does fat seek other fat in sewer systems? Does plastic seek plastic? How is that a question? Well, it's a question because they find these things together.
Because there was all sorts of junk.
They
that's
weren't dumped together.
in the sewer or the ocean.
15 tons of lard was not dumped in the sewer.
Well, the
a
other thing with
teaspoon
lard,
here,
it's
a
heavier
gallon
than
there.
water, so it probably sinks. And then sewers do have movement in them, so maybe all the heavy stuff sludge. But the ocean one, that is really quite extraordinary.
Okay, so one of these smarty pants, you're so smart, you guys, are going to.
Tell us.
Yeah, you are.
Some
I know you
genius
are.
at CMU.
Yeah, well, somebody.
A PhD. in
PJ has
slug.
sent a picture, and I think, oh God, if this is a picture of the,
Of the lard.
I don't know if we can take it. I'm a little queasy this morning to start with. Okay,
click it, Lynn.
Okay, here we go.
yes.
It's a picture of Bradley Manning, and he's
Who looks like he's 4 feet tall. Or
he's
something.
all of 4 feet tall. No,
is
he's
he
just
really?
he's
Oh.
just tiny. I thought there used to be a minimum.
Oh, right.
To be a soldier.
I mean, it almost
they
looks like
say
a joke.
women. Oh, you can't have women as Marines, because they can't carry a wounded Mimi. You tell me. I could carry him. I could carry 3 Bradley Mannings on my back.
Well,
Look
then
at how
these
tiny
guys
he is.
next to him also
No,
look pretty
all
tall,
right, come
too.
on. They didn't bring in a bunch of Brobdingnagians to escort him into. No, but yeah, he doesn't. You're right.
But it also looks sad about it is he's sort of festooned with medallions and
The
things,
regalia of the military person.
too. Well, so
Yeah.
obviously he had some successes.
No, and I think it's been said that he was
Good at what he
at
did?
his work. There was a reason, why. Okay, so before we get into whatever it is we're going to get into, we do have some mail to address.
to.
I first want to address one from Ray that came in late. Yesterday. Our last caller yesterday was Tea Party Dave.
Tea Party Dave?
Yeah, and he definitely does not agree with much of the verbiage on this program, but listens to it, for which I give him credit, because I do think that one of the bad things that has happened to our politics is the segregation of of all of us, that we only listen to each other.
But it may be, if I may make a different point, like they say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Well, no, and
so
I know
he's listening to.
Well, that's
to
what people say when someone will say to me, like, "Did you hear what Rush Limbaugh said yesterday?" I say, "No, I can't even bear to listen to him." And they say, "Oh, I tune in every once in a while because you need to hear what." Well, I just can't. I can't. So Ray listened to. I'm trying to remember what Tea Party Dave was jumping all over Chris and me for. God, this is about bad.
Well, click
no, because Ray does not refer specifically to it. About the fact that we were jumping on. He said we was talking about Heinz. The people that have been laid off here, that got us into capitalism. That got us into how they just, feather their own nests and the little people suffer. And he said, you guys have strangely not said boo about who owns Heinz now. It's your liberal icon, Warren Buffett. And you didn't say, if this had been the Koch brothers, you would have been all right. So that's what he was saying. And he went on at some length about that. And I thought Potter took him on very well. However, Ray then wrote, subject line, Tea Party, what's his name? The thing that makes me hate these people. That is so strong.
Well,
you don't really hate them, Ray, do you?
We'll read the rest. Let's see.
Well, I guess I hate some of them too.
Yeah,
so what am I saying?
Yeah, what are you saying?
I just don't hate Dave. I've talked to him. Anytime you have sort of personal, dialogue with somebody, it's hard to hate them. Anyway, the thing that makes me hate these people the most isn't their horrific self-absorption, nor their cynical contempt for compassion and social concerns, nor their delusions that they deserve the lucky hand they were dealt. But what I hate the most is their willingness to make trivial and amusing to themselves the suffering that their evil brings to the masses. Geez, Ray.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, I understand. God knows. I mean, I'm capable of such over-the-top stuff myself.
Yes, I was going to say.
I am.
This is the popcorn.
I know. It's like what's up. Yeah. Okay, so here's Larry is responding to the garbage in the ocean.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
And he says, Lynn, would it be ocean currents?
Well, sure. That's part. No. That's obviously
okay.
true.
So the current brings stuff, and then it
yeah, but the question is,
bumps into.
Well, right, but the thing is, why wouldn't it be old trees or basketballs or whatever? I mean, this thing that I had read about was all plastic.
Yeah. No, I don't think it is all plastic. It's garbage. It's just stuff.
Okay.
It's a huge, gyroscope
well, then I think he's absolutely right.
Garbage.
I think there are currents, number one, and then there are vortices in the ocean.
Well, there ain't currents in the sewer. Well, I guess there is, but not like that.
Yeah, well, the one they wouldn't flush out.
No, you flush into a sewer.
Well, but the sewers have to go someplace or come back up into your body. I mean, it has to go through a filtration plant, and then the water, clean water, ostensibly goes back into the rivers or whatever.
Oh, I'll tell you. We're talking infrastructure.
Well, now, Pittsburgh must have a director of sanitation.
No, it has the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority.
Oh, okay. Well, same thing.
Which is an authority. I don't know who heads it.
Well,
badly run.
Now, one thing is you should do, if I may opine, I think you should be able, as part of this program, not only just have people, but you should be able to call in and like say, we have this question. Hello, may I speak with the head of the Pittsburgh?
Well, we could do that.
I mean, that could be.
No,
funny.
I mean, and I when I had a radio show where we had a slightly better system
it was live,
here.
sure.
No, we had a
Well, we're
system
live.
where you could make calls and you had more than one telephone line and all that kind of crap. We could ostensibly do that, but I don't know. So I was also talking about having seen these little in neighborhoods in somebody's yard, a little thing on a pole in which were books, and it's like something new that's starting up, which is like
Pop-up
a
library.
neighborhood pop-up lending libraries that people put books in them and then say, please help yourself, and then just bring another book back. And I saw one on a walk in Green Bay, Wisconsin with my mom. Then I came back here and no, I didn't see one here. I saw somebody emailed and said that they saw one in Overbrook. And now George writes that there is one in Point Breeze on Hastings, which is a free library, 600 block of Hastings. He says, my neighbor started it the beginning of this summer. So there's something going on that these people all know about, and I just love the general feel of it. I love the communal nature of it. I really do.
It's sort of like I remember in Chicago for one of years ago, but I think someone in New York does this too. And, you know, when you have a huge amount of people in a big city using public transport, they would have a bin. So days when it rained, you just like take the
umbrellas, right?
And some people would keep them, other people would bring them back, but they were about 60, 70.
Yes, right.
And that's just a really interesting thing, as opposed to some awful person selling you one of those little umbrellas for $6 that break the minute you open it.
It always amazed me how when it started to rain in New York, within seconds.
Those people are
Within
out.
seconds, there are people on the street with tons of umbrellas to sell you, which is nice, which is actually providing
Right.
There is a demand at the time. Where they come from with all those umbrellas that quickly, I never know.
They're in the back of like 7-Elevens or something, but and they're always like people from Africa, always. At least
Are they?
Oh yes, always. And they're always. I mean, it's like $6, so big deal. But it is, you use it once,
and it falls.
or it blows out, the whole
but
thing goes inside out.
At that point, though, you just want shelter. You're not looking for some
Sure, but you don't
Cadillac
want it
umbrella.
but you don't want it to blow and break. That's why you bought it.
Well, take it up with the Consumer Products Administration or whatever.
Oh, I can just see you buying one and then being drenched, your coiffure being drenched and looking like a wet dog.
Hello, caller. Caller, hi. Sure. Hello, hang up.
It was
hang up.
The umbrellas of Canarsie.
I believe that's the umbrellas of
Well, I know that's what I was.
I know.
I was making a pun. No, it wasn't a pun.
It was not a pun. You were
No.
making a bad joke.
Yes, all right. Touche.
Okay, here's what we're going to do.
Yes.
There's another very interesting email here. Also, it happens to be from Ray, but specifically it is art-related because Ray has returned to us from Amsterdam, the Netherlands.
Yes.
And while there, because when you are in Amsterdam, generally speaking, you do go to they have two marvelous museums.
You see dikes and you wear wooden shoes.
You do.
You do.
I did not see one dike that I'm aware of. And I did not.
I just thought of a bad pun.
All right, well, let's see.
But anyway.
And I didn't see any wooden shoes either, for that matter. I didn't
in the
even
country
see a
you see
damn
them.
tulip. But I did.
Did you see a canal?
Oh, I saw a canal. I saw lots of canals. And I saw a beautiful city that was.
It's a lovely city, yeah.
That also had a look that I had never seen before. I love it when you go to a city that you have never been in, and I mean, this has to be another country, where the architecture is just slightly different than any architecture you've ever seen, so that if you were to show me a street, if you travel the world long enough, I suppose, if you show me a street, I could say that's got to be Amsterdam.
Right, exactly.
That's got to be, now that I was in St. Andrews, Scotland, totally different. But the architecture is just different. The houses that are built, the way...
because partly it was, I mean, the canal system, number one, and it was one of the few places where, like, you lived above the store. And the reason that these buildings
there's very
were 4
sort
or
of
5,
like, yeah.
And also at the top, you'll see that many of the Dutch houses, if not all of them, have this huge hook because they would use it
to pull things up
from the canal in their storage. So there would be
and big windows
and big windows
and big
to
windows
let in the light, which are also they're also extremely clean. Because, you know, in Holland, it's interesting. We always think, oh, we don't leave your windows open for peeping Toms, etc. Whereas the Dutch believe, because I had this long discussion with someone.
They always have windows open.
Well, because it's like, what do you have to hide? And they're so clean, they must wash them every hour, that you can see in and you can see the painting on the wall. Yeah. It's quite amazing. Which also goes in, I remember when Pittsburgh was trying to get KLM to be our international carrier, the War Home Museum had a show up at the Stedelijk Museum, and the symphony was coming. So the powers that be, Allegheny Conference and the mayor's office, etc., said, well, this is the time to go. Pittsburgh is making its big, presence. So I remember, and all this contingent was going there, and they were arriving on Sunday, and nothing was happening until Monday. And I said, well, let them look around.
Yeah.
Oh, what would they do? I said, all right, I'll take them around.
All you have to do is go for a walk.
No. Well, anyway, but I took them for a walk, and I purposely took them to the red light district, and they told me, don't take the mayor any place that they could take a picture of him. So, of course, I had to. We went first to the old church and then to the new church.
Which mayor was this? Murphy?
Ravenstall.
Oh, this was Ravenstall.
And there, have you ever been to the red light district? Well,
no.
They have these big, clean windows.
Yes, and the
people sit there with a G-string, and they're not necessarily...
Yeah.
They are portly girls, we shall say. But it was very funny. Most of the politicians had their eyes got wide as saucers. It was very funny.
It's a good idea to travel. But you bring up another issue. Actually, you just bring up another issue. But we got to get to a break that has to do with travel in Pittsburgh and is actually a very important issue. Okay. And there was a piece in the paper today, I think, that alludes to it. So we'll get a break in. When we come back, back to Amsterdam through Ray. And then I want to do this other, and it's a very important question about Pittsburgh.
About the airlines?
Yes, it's a big issue.
They're trying to stop the merger.
A big issue. While this city is burgeoning, we are losing our link to the rest of the world. It makes no sense.
Right.
So, back in a moment.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Go to BarkBargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on gift cards to Seba, tickets to PICT's Don Juan, Cadillac Ranch, and Crazy Mocha. Supplies are limited. BarkBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BarkBargains.com.
Come to Little's for all of your back-to-school needs. Little's has everything for all ages to stay in style for this upcoming school season. Check out the large selection from Doc Marten, Steve Madden, UGG, Clark's, Lely Kelly, New Balance, and much, much more. Don't forget to come visit this season's colorful handbag selection as well. Little Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Allen Events, producer of the country's most popular high-end festivals, returns to Walnut Street between South Aiken Avenue and South Negley Avenue in Shadyside. The 16th annual Shadyside, the art festival on Walnut Street, will be held August 24th and 25th, transforming this popular downtown shopping district of Pittsburgh into an outdoor art gallery with an eclectic mix of the country's top established artists as well as new and emerging talent. Admission is free and open to the public. Showtimes for the Shadyside, the art festival on Walnut Street, are Saturday 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more information, go to artfestival.com.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
I only have one ear. Okay, there's just one working ear here.
Well, use mine.
Okay, so let's just jump right in because we got some good topics here. Ray, our most erudite listener or emailer. We may have more erudite listeners who
That's
don't.
true, who just don't.
Well, right.
Yes.
Ray writes, I was in Amsterdam and visited the newly renovated Rijksmuseum.
Yes.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
I've been there. And Van Gogh
Yes, right.
Museum. We say Van Gogh.
Yes. Just like I remember being told one time years ago when I went there and having some, what I would have said, Gouda cheese, and it's gouda.
Oh, is it?
I'd like a ham and gouda sandwich.
Is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it's a hard
Gouda.
G. If they don't have soft G's.
Van Gogh. Okay. And Ray says, I have been to both of those museums before, but there's always more to see and notice. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I have two questions for Tom. These are very interesting questions.
Oh,
First,
very astute, yes.
at the Rijksmuseum.
It's in that throat. Well, yeah, because what's his name? Napoleon once said that Flemish and Dutch languages
Clear the throat?
Yeah,
Right.
no, are like they're not languages, but throat disease.
Yeah, right.
Because the French don't have any of that.
Any of
guttural.
that kind of thing, right.
Nor really German in the same way.
Well, German has a...
Well, it's clip, but it's not like gouda.
Well, at the Rijksmuseum, Tom says, I was able to peer behind the marble busts on display. The wealthy Dutch citizens would have themselves immortalized quite beautifully, and I wondered at the weight of such an object. But I see that the back of the bust is chiseled out to make it a sort of shell shape rather than a whole block of marble. I assume this was done to make the piece less heavy. But my question is, was this done before or after the sculpting? The hollowing out would involve weakening the block one way or another, and I can't get over the anxiety of it being done after. But also the concern that if you did it before, the block would be too fragile to sculpt. Which one is it?
Normally it would be the form that you did before. Because basically the artist, if he was someone of substance, at that point it would just have been he, as well as all the assistants, they would prepare the block of stone and create the shape of whether it's going to be a head bust or bust en buste up to the breasts. And then when the shape had been hollowed out, and the Greeks used to do this as well, then the master sculptor would get in there and start whacking but another specific of what Ray says, it also, Ray, has to do with the fact of certain marbles are soft, like Carrara marble in Italy is very, very soft. I mean, to chisel it, and I've just done this once or twice when I was studying, and you really can, a nudnik, like any of us, if we've never sculpted, could do it. But if you get Greek marble, and I'm not sure where the Dutch marble came from, I don't know, that wasn't my period of my expertise or region of my expertise, but Greek marble is very brittle. And it's harder to chip, and if you'd hit a vein in it, you could, the nose could fall off. So Ray's absolutely right. No, but you do it before.
You would hollow it out before.
Before.
Okay.
And it was a matter of weight. Because, as you say, those busts are damn heavy as they are, let alone if you doubled the weight of marble.
Was it also, though, to preserve the marble for another use? I mean,
not really, because you couldn't... it's not like wood, where if, let's say, you had a chunk like the size of, a baby or something, cut that out. No, you'd have to chip away at it. So all you would get would be dust. And it would have been quarried as a block.
Yes. Okay.
So once it was quarried, then,
And Ray, your second question, came up when he was at the Van Gogh Museum. The guidebook would speak about techniques of paint application being done wet on wet, meaning the underlayer had not dried, as opposed to wet on dry. Tom, how long does it take for the oil paint to dry? Do you have to add a drying compound? How could these more expressionist artists wait around for paint to dry and then go back at it newly inspired? I just was amazed at the thick applications of paint and thought that would stay wet forever.
And he's right. Oil paint can be wet, not to the touch, but inside, it can take centuries for it to totally dry.
Oh, you are kidding me.
No. And in fact, if you can go to a painting sometimes even that's 100 years old, if it's been really put on, let's say like cake frosting, if you pushed, you really could dent it, yeah. But no, inside, it could take centuries for it to dry. But he mentioned thickening agents. Yes, certainly the artists will do that nowadays. But they'll also do that with acrylic paints, which dry very quickly in and of themselves. But to my knowledge, I'm not sure how long ago drying agents were employed.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Certainly not back in the, 16th or 17th century, but also, even then when people were doing it with oil, most of the time they were painting very thinly. So if you go to an old master painting prior to, at least the middle of the 19th century, or the 1800s, as Lynn Cullen would say, or at the very beginning of the 20th century, they weren't applying thick layers. It was really glazes, and these glazes were almost like putting varnish on something, and they would just build them up one after the other and after the other. So the thickness of the paint wasn't quite as excessive as it is in the last 120 years or so.
Okay, but to his question of like the impressionists, imagine that you know exactly what you want to do.
Right.
You can't you do have to wait a little bit, but can you just literally go wet on wet? Just keep going.
Sure.
How do you not smear what's under?
Well, you do, but then you have to work with it.
I guess that's where
technique.
And for those
because they do a double Salchow.
Yeah, well,
I think we can talk about gays in the Olympics. That's another good question.
That is.
Yeah.
I want to tip my hat to Ray for
thank you.
For his
very astute, Ray.
Yeah, and
A+.
for your curiosity, because I've been at both those museums, and after I very quickly get overwhelmed, and I'm not looking anymore. I mean, I'm looking, but I'm not asking those questions like you're asking. Like, how did that?
Can I make a brand? This is very important.
What?
There's a woman. Oops.
Caller. Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, turpentine could be considered a drying agent for oil paint.
Turpentine.
That's
wow.
true.
Yeah, the more thinner you put into the oil paint, the faster it dries.
Right.
But the more thinner you add to it and the faster it dries, the duller it is.
Right, exactly.
So the opposite of that would be adding linseed oil.
Right.
And linseed oil kind of makes it thicker, makes it flow better, and makes it dry glossier, and kind of gives it well, not impasto, but a creamier feel.
Sure. Well, that's why painters.
One of the reasons oil paint is so great is because it stays wet so long. I mean, that's the whole point of it.
Well, and that's
you
why
can
too.
keep working on it for blending and et cetera.
Well, that's why too. In earlier ages, that just what you say, but by adding extra turpentine, it's thinner. They would do these glazes, but that's why there would be lots of varnishing of the final canvas to put that glow in, as you said.
Geez.
The varnish that causes so many problems nowadays when they have to strip it off.
Well, true. Yeah. True.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For people like me who can't even draw a stick figure well, I have absolutely no appreciation of what it would take to paint anything. And this is, wow.
That's a great technique in anything.
Yeah. I just want to get that.
Oh, yeah, I want to make a parenthetical. When you were talking about going to a museum, there was a very interesting piece written by a woman named Judith Dobrinsky, who used to write for the Times. Now she blogs, but and it was in the Times on Sunday, and it was this question that she raised, which is that many museums, in the desire to get the gate up, the number of attendees, have gone from presenting works of art, and like Ray has very, very astutely mentioned, he astutely mentioned, but the fact that he wanted to look at the back. He had questions, something. And that's what she says a museum should be about. But now museums are so interested in gait that they have to make the viewing experience into an experience.
More and more and more.
And
it's getting
more
a
you get
little
the jingle and jangle. And, and there's, having been in the profession for many, many years, we are interested in that sort of thing. But also just getting the person, as Ray did, to look as he wanted or didn't, and then to be thinking about this, and then to ask someone who has the expertise. And are we turning everything? She has the line, if I remember, are we turning our museums, the Van Gogh Museum, into Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, into an amusement park.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and it takes away from the notion of really your intercourse with that work of art. But you have to, and Ray obviously is a very good example of this, you have to be curious. Because you look and say, oh, now, what would that mean? Why would they hollow it out? And, I think a smart person, or maybe not even such a smart person, would say, well, it's lighter. Well, why would it have to be lighter? Well, what's the basis on? Those are all the kind of questions you ask about something that's rich, just like a delicious torte. Ooh, is that cardamom in there?
And the more you know, we all know this, because all of us know something about something. The more you know, the more pleasure there is to be had.
Exactly.
And that's why ignorance ain't bliss. It's just not. And that's why people who are blessed with curious minds, they don't have to be brilliant people, but they have curious minds, get more pleasure from life.
Exactly.
So there's no doubt about that. Now, back here, and I want to get to this Pittsburgh thing, but also back to the Fatberg, in the sewer in London.
The creamy white fat.
Investigators just said they used closed-circuit television, and they discovered the creamy white Fatberg, which had reduced the 28-inch sewer pipe to just 5% of its normal capacity.
Well, that's like your arteries.
It had actually blocked. It had actually blocked the artery. It needed a stent.
That was like the exact same thing. Let's stent the sewer.
Yeah, concerned environmentalists will be relieved to know that the fat will be recycled, not sent to a landfill. We recycle everything that we remove. The water is extracted, and the remaining fats and oils are turned into products like soap, biodiesel, fuel, whatever. Well, that's good.
Don't you love the water? When you take your shower tomorrow, we'll give you some creamy white Fatberg.
You don't want to know what's in. Yeah, well, it's true. You don't want to know what's in soap.
Soap is all lard.
Yeah, it is lard. And Ray quickly then writes about, again, trapping fat and grease. We have created in almost every commercial kitchen, and as a matter of fact, at most old bathtub drains, what we call grease traps. Yeah. We reproduce a natural phenomenon that uses the natural rising of grease in water and remove it from our drains. In nature, this would occur in a pool of water drained from below rather than from a spillway. This would often occur in a sewer. The water drains low, and the grease accumulates on top. The grease doesn't know how to do it. It's just hydrodynamics. Okay, I kind of understand that, Ray.
Grease rises to the top.
I was going to say, I thought it was the cream that rises. What do you mean?
No, but cream is grease. It's fat. Yes, it is.
It's got a lot of fat in it.
Well, that's why you get now 2% milk or skim milk as opposed to...
Yeah.
Or like buttermilk, which is super duper
All right,
fatty.
Here's what we're going to do. I'm doing another break. Then when we come back from this break, I want to get to this question.
Off of fat.
This is a big question. Thank you guys for all your information and conversation. I love it. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
It's Shadyside Arts Festival time. Don't forget to mark your calendars for the 16th Annual Shadyside Arts Festival, August 24th and 25th. And check out the newest Fiats from #1 Cochran Fiat. Pick up this week's Pittsburgh City paper for more information. Available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania. And on the web at pghcitypaper.com. And on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
Les Ludwig, your independent, self-financed, clean candidate for mayor of Pittsburgh. You've heard the saying, same old. If we don't change what we're doing, we can only expect the same results. Let's look at what the Democratic Party leadership of your lifetime is asking you to do on Election Day. They want you to forget that they and Ravenstahl have not lived up to minority contracts and the jobs involved in it. If government promises work and jobs and wants to leave it for the next candidate, will it ever get done? How can we trust Peduto and especially the leadership when they continue to act this way? Are they hiding something worse than Harper's misdeeds? Vote November 5th and remember, same old. Embrace change and work willingly with it. Think outside the party's box. Make Les Ludwig your mayor and join his march to clean government and keeping promises.
Don Juan is trying to be good. He's really trying. But hurry, because his manic search for redemption and love through a world dominated by women will last only until August 31st. Pict Theatre brings Don Juan Comes Back from the War, starring David Whalen, to the Henry Hayman Theatre at the Stephen Foster Memorial in Oakland. Call Pict Theatre at 412-561-6000 to book your tickets to this celebration of life, love, and lust.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, we're back, and I'm going to try to get this in. So you were talking about, at one point, the Warhol and everybody else, the powers that be, tried to get KLM in so that we could, and as it stands now, there's only one Delta flight to Paris,
and I think it's 5 days a week.
Yeah, and they only do it. They don't do it all year round.
Right.
I think it's in the summer. Whatever.
Right. It's very minimal in the winter.
And,
like 3 days a week or
right.
something.
So here we have Pittsburgh, and it's getting a lot of ink for remaking itself and burgeoning and being a world-class city in the G20 and blah, 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 blah. And this comes at a time when all of a sudden, as somebody who flies on occasion, our airport does not allow us to get anywhere very easily. I mean, it used to be you could fly
New
York, right?
Or Boston.
That's about it. Yeah, you can still do direct to Boston, direct to New York. But even then, direct flights, there aren't as many of them.
Right.
I have found it almost impossible to fly to my childhood home.
Well, you're going from a third-ranked city to a sixth-ranked city.
It's beyond belief. So you can't, and the cost of it is prohibitive.
Exactly.
So here, there was an article in the paper today that said that the new
proposed
CEO or something of is it Bayer or Bayer? I think is how they
German, Bayer.
Well, we say Bayer, so screw them. The Bayer Corporation, which is headquartered here.
Yes, on the Parkway.
On the Parkway, you see it.
Robinson Township or whatever.
And they hired a new guy a few years ago, I guess. And clearly he said to them, I don't want to live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'd be glad to take the job, but I'll be damned if I'm living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And they must have wanted him so much, they said, okay, no problem. So,
can I make some parentheses here? I knew two people. One person who years ago was head of Bayer here, and then someone who was in charge of a split-off company from Bayer. And both of them had German mother companies. And they literally, both these companies had someone going to Germany every day. Mm-hmm. And they just said, when it was sort of kicked out, our flights to Frankfurt.
Well, U.S. Air used to have a flight to Frankfurt.
Oh, yeah, when I first came here 17 years ago, we had flights nightly to London, Frankfurt, and Paris. And then chung chung, chung chung, chung chung. But I mean, for them, it means if business people go back and forth. If you could go directly, you could go for a day and then come back, and you're not having.
I know, it's amazing.
And then they have to put them up, so it's time, it's money,
So this guy stays on the East Coast, and he then pulls a lot of people that he wants to work with there as well.
Right, from
So you have the Bayer headquarters here on the Parkway. But it is becoming less and less so.
Only.
Yeah, the real headquarters, since the people don't want to be here. Now, you don't have to take it personally because it could be. I mean, why would Heinz keep its headquarters here? Why would people? Because these are global corporations. Right. They have to get out and go places. Right. And you cannot easily travel.
Well, I can
from
personally.
Pittsburgh. So why would
When I was at the War Museum early on, there'd be lots of people because Warhol, international name, etc. And so people from Germany, whatever, would say, "Oh, well, we'll fly to Pittsburgh and see the museum and see Tom, blah blah blah," and then we'll just then fly to New York and do our business. But now, then that just all ended. So well, why should we go to New York and then Pittsburgh and then New York? And then just didn't come. I know for a fact this Carnegie International that's been on for years.
Yes.
In the 5 that I've seen here during my time, each time there'd be less international visitors because of the difficulty and the expense
of getting to Pittsburgh. That's right. And it's true that, so even if you can still fly directly from Pittsburgh, this backwater, to New York, the cost has just skyrocketed.
Oh, right. Exactly.
And that is because, the one low-cost airline dropped us. And so, of course, the few that are here just jacked their prices up hugely. And you tell me how we're going to continue to have these corporate headquarters
because
here.
In the paper, that's a big question. Well, we've already lost some.
Well, we'll continue to lose them.
Well, exactly.
If I were running a company, I wouldn't headquarter it here.
Of course not. And then the other part of it is, as it just came out yesterday, I don't know if it's the FCC or whoever, but they're trying to stop this proposed merger between American...
FAA. No, it's not the FAA. It's the Justice Department. Or it's the whoever looks into monopolies. It's like
exactly. Anyway, and so they say, well, the worst will be, I guess. Where did they say? Was it Dallas, where American is headquartered?
Yeah.
They're going to have the biggest kick in terms of letting people go on that. But Pittsburgh will be bad in terms of right now we have U.S. Airways that flies directly to LaGuardia. And American that flies directly to JFK. And they said for sure
they won't do both.
Or they'll do like half of each.
Well, so how does this work? That here is Pittsburgh growing, and getting to be a destination, while the airline industry pulls away from us. How much?
I think it's partly. I mean, they're monsters.
How can one dysfunctional industry, and it is totally dysfunctional, start destroying cities?
But one thing I will tell you about this: 2 things. One, I once sat next to a guy who was a top U.S. Airways. I got bumped up to first class, and he was like, "Oh, how are you enjoying your flight?" And he was really big vice president, so I led into him. This was just when they dehubbed us. And he gave me this long story, which I've heard elsewhere, not just about U.S. Airways, that this 70s and 80s idea of hub airports just don't work. Because what he said was, I said, well, sir, when I came here to the airport, you used to be jammed in Pittsburgh. He said, oh, yes, but those were all transit passengers.
Right, they were going someplace else.
But what he said was, Philadelphia, and I said, why'd you send to Philadelphia? Because it's so crowded because of New York and Washington and Boston, the Eastern Corridor. We would have been the much better hub just in terms of congestion. And he said, because in Pittsburgh, even though the airport was crowded, each airline only had 19% of people getting on or getting off in Pittsburgh, whereas in Philadelphia it was 69% getting on or off in Philadelphia. So Pittsburgh was not generating the flights; it was just the conduit. And almost all airlines have dehubbed. That's number one. But number two.
No, they haven't. They all have a hub.
No, but not the sense of hubs where you had many, many hubs.
You know now, but when you go, if you get on U.S. Air, which I avoid like the plague, you can't get anywhere without going to friggin' Charlotte.
But there's only
that's their hub.
No, but there's 2 or 3 hubs as opposed to 10.
And Philly and Charlotte, and I know.
That's
but here there. I don't know.
But no, I was going to say something else that was important. Oh, I can't remember now.
Well, it just drives me crazy. So I just don't see how, with Pittsburgh going this away, and
I know what I was going to say. Now when you fly, because always the planes, except maybe once a day, they come early morning flight when there's lots of people going to New York, it's always one of those little planes.
Teeny-weeny
they're
planes.
full.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say in terms of efficiency, I remember in my early years here, you'd get on a plane, and there would always be these huge planes.
And there was no one on them. Yeah.
So I guess they're saying we can't afford to do that anymore. So that's why. And sometimes it's like 30-seat planes where, like, you're a statuesque girl. You have to bend over to get.
No, I'm used to now flying out of here, even to some place like Chicago, which you figure you can't fill a bigger plane than this little puddle jumper.
Guess not.
Well, whatever. You'd be hard pressed to find a more screwed up industry than the airline industry, and they're not making money.
No.
They're shaking us down left and right, and they're still not making money. So
and also,
no way to do it.
This airport too don't they charge a very high?
Yes, but that's starting to come down because when they're drilling for the gas.
That's
going to help lower it. That's good, but nowhere near.
Fracking.
Still nowhere near as low a cost.
Yeah.
I don't know why, as some of...
isn't it because U.S. Airways didn't pay the county back for the airport that was built for them? The county put in like $30 million, I thought.
Jeez.
And they were supposed to match that over time. And
well, speaking of Pittsburgh getting, recognition, whenever I have to think, like if you were to suggest, like my friends were all like traveling someplace. Somebody said, "Oh, I'm off to Tokyo, and I'm off to Beijing, and I'm off to
Sheboygan."
And is that? We all have a city that we come up with that.
Sheboygan. What's such a horrible?
Is that one you would say, Sheboygan?
Yeah, well, no,
what other cities? I would say, I get to go.
No, but you were talking about these grand cities.
No, I know, and I get to go to, and then we all have a city we put in that is like Sheboygan, okay?
Yeah.
Well, my city has always been, because I just love the
word,
the way it sounds.
Yes, which is what?
Wilmerding.
I didn't know I know there's a man named that, but I didn't know there was a city named Wilmerding.
It's a little town right near here.
Oh, really?
You never heard of Wilmerding?
No. Should I have?
Well,
do they have like the Lint Museum in Wilmerding?
Wilmerding made the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. Do you have the Wall Street Journal here?
No. Just the Times.
All right. Wilmerding. And there was something, when I moved here, there were so many place names that were new to me, but there was something about Wilmerding.
Had the fattest double-headed goats.
And Blawnox.
Blawnox. I know where that is, yes.
So Wilmerding was where George Westinghouse built his... he built his huge air brake factory there.
Oh.
So that was a jumping...
Well, now, where is, since you've stumped me, where is it?
Right near Turtle Creek.
I don't know where that is either.
Oh, for God's sake.
I don't know where any of these suburb things are.
I understand, but you've probably been close to it. It's all of 15 miles from where we are now. I mean, it's right. Wilmerding is...
Okay.
But anyway, there was this piece in the Wall Street Journal about how Wilmerding is pretty much gone.
Oh, really?
Like a lot of...
Because the factory is no longer there?
No. The factory that's all they have.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And there's nothing in it right now.
Oh, it's no longer functioning.
They call it the castle. The headline is, "A Castle in Wilmerding Searches for Its White Knight." And it's all about how the people of Wilmerding are desperately trying to find somebody to take this amazing...
And the mayor is 90 years old.
The mayor is 90 years old. And the castle is...
it looms incongruously.
Yeah. It's this... I have never been... Have you ever seen it, Jess? The castle there? And some guy says he's willing to, or he wants to make it into a hotel. But
but there has to be some reason people would stay there.
Why would you go?
I have business with Lynn Cullen on Grand Street, but I'm going to stay 15 miles away in an old factory.
Yeah, see, that's why it won't work. I mean,
it could be a spa, though. You do go to spas out of the mainstream.
Melanie writes, there was a commercial a long time ago that used to say, there's no Winkies in Wilmerding. I don't know. What does that mean?
It must have been a hot dog place or something.
Oh, you know
Or a
what
food
Winkies
shop.
is?
No, I
Winkies
don't.
was, yeah.
Oh, was it like a McDonald's kind of thing?
Well, I think there were Winkies in New York.
Never heard of such a thing, no. And I'm 63 years old. I've never heard of Winkies.
Was there a Blinkies? There was something like a Winkies. Yeah, come on. There was a Winkies.
No. Not in my knowledge of New York from 1971.
No.
I think I passed
If you
it.
put in Winkies, Wilmerding comes up right away.
If you put in Winkies, the first thing in Google is Wilmerding?
Yeah.
Maybe
Winkies was created in Wilmerding near the looming castle.
PJ, who is an artist himself, writes, after all is said and done, when a piece of art leaves my studio, my greatest hope is for a sympathetic viewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, or a curious viewer. Even if they hate the painting, at least they're going to spend time talking about it.
Right. Right.
That's more than all you really can ask for, really.
It's sometimes shocking when you travel to Europe and you find yourself in front of
a Winkies, a painting or something
that you know because you've seen it a million times, and there it is. There's the actual thing, and I can't be alone in being stunned by how tiny the Mona Lisa is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's the most famous painting of the world. And you can't even get near it because if there's one other person standing there, they're blocking the whole thing. I mean, you can't. It is really.
Well, do you remember? I'm sure this was the same thing when you saw it. It's in a vitrine that maybe is 2-3 feet deep, and it's behind plexiglass, and there's an interior light that's meant to be a dimmer light. But as you say, you'll go in that big room in the Louvre, and there are other
500. Oh yeah, okay.
And there are 2, 3, 4 other Da Vinci's on either side of it, and no one's looking at
everybody. There's this mob.
And then the guy, the guard, has something that looks like a big pizza thing, where you put pizza slab or whatever they're called. And if someone's starting to take flashes, they put that thing in front of the painting. It's so hilarious. Let me tell you one funny anecdote. I've been an art student for many years, and before I studied for some years before I went to Europe. And I went in 1971, I think it was, on a grant, and was going all over Italy. And I remember I was in Florence at one point, and I was really tired, and I was staying in some dump, as one did in those days. And I said I was passing a church, but I better go in. There's probably something good in there. But I didn't remember what was in it. Because before I would say, this museum has, no, this church has something. So you'd prepare yourself. Like, I'm going to hear Beethoven's Ninth, comparing it to Beethoven's Ninth. So I walked into the church, and the first chapel on the right, all of a sudden, as I walked in, I turned, and someone had put money in to throw these lights on. We used to put a little coin in, 5 cents or less years ago, and it lit up this extraordinary deposition of Christ by the artist Pontormo, who painted in the early part of the 16th century, 1500s.
Oh, shut up.
And painted in these, lavenders and almost like day glow colors, and I hadn't expected the painting. I'd seen it many times, and I remember it was like an orgasm, almost like, oh! And what was really the reason I'm telling the story was it was the idea of a purely emotional experience, not intellectual. Oh, Pontormo, whose student was so and so, and he painted it. This pat was so and so for the person who commissioned it. It was just seeing this ravishing thing. And that can happen. I mean, like you said, the Mona Lisa's too small, but I think seeing some of these works and thinking, oh my God, I didn't know it was so bright or it was so thickly painted or whatever, that is an extraordinary experience.
Yeah. The thing about the Mona Lisa, you'd be hard put to find yourself really in front of it, able to really...
unless you got a special... But what's very interesting, I don't know if it's still there, but they found a painting, this was in the news about a year ago, in the Prado that was stuck in the back someplace saying, former copy. Blah, blah. Well, it turns out that it was probably, again, by Leonardo, painted almost exactly at the same time. And this happened after they cleaned it. And it was being sent to the Louvre to hang, like, next to this, to the famous Mona Lisa, for X number of months. And I know someone who went, and he said it was really quite interesting to look at the two. And he, because of who he was in museums, was able to get in, before the public and really spend some time.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's it.
Oh, that's right.
That's it.
From fat to plastics to Mona. What else can we say?
It's been a strange trip. And thank you very much. Thank you, really, for all of your input.
Yes.
Wouldn't be a show without it. And tomorrow we'll do her again. Okay? Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.